Have you ever felt that familiar sting of disappointment? You pour your heart and soul into your garden, planting, watering, waiting with anticipation, only to find your harvest is a far cry from your dreams. Sound familiar? Today, we're going to dive into the 7 most common pitfalls for beginner gardeners, mistakes that can completely undo all your hard work. And I promise by the end, I'll reveal the biggest trap almost everyone falls into. Gardening seems so simple, doesn't it? Just plant a seed, add water, and voila! We're surrounded from childhood by idyllic images of lush gardens and bountiful harvests. But behind that picture-perfect scene lies a lot of science, and more importantly, experience, often gained through trial and error. Let's explore how to avoid these common missteps. Mistake number 1, and arguably the most fundamental, is choosing the wrong location for your future vegetable garden. You could buy the most expensive, highest-yielding seeds and the best fertilizers. But if you plant a sun-loving crop in a dark corner behind your house, you're setting yourself up for failure from the start. It's like trying to charge a phone without an outlet. It simply won't work. The primary resource for most vegetable crops is the sun. Sunlight is their food, their energy. It's absolutely essential for photosynthesis, that process we all learned about in school. Without enough light, your plants simply won't be able to form fruits. They'll expend all their energy just trying to survive, stretching out, becoming spindly, and turning pale. Ultimately, instead of a robust bush laden with tomatoes, you'll end up with a long, flimsy stem and a couple of yellowing leaves. Keep this simple rule in mind. Most popular vegetables like tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, zucchini, and eggplants require a minimum of 6 and preferably 8 hours of direct sunlight per day. And I mean direct? This means the sun needs to be shining right on the leaves, not just somewhere in the vicinity. So what should you do? It's quite simple. Before you even dig your first garden bed, become an observer. Spend a full day just watching how the sun moves across your property. Where does it hit in the morning? What about at midday? Where do the shadows fall from your house, shed, or tall trees? Those sunnier spots are the VIP zones for your main vegetable crops, and in areas with partial shade, where the sun only peeks in for a couple of hours, you can plant greens, lettuces, spinach, arugula. They'll thank you for it. Don't forget about the wind either. An exposed spot on an open hill, constantly battered by winds, can damage fragile plants and severely dry out the soil. The ideal location is sunny, but also protected from strong drafts. All right, let's move on to our second, equally important issue. This is all about water imbalance, or to put it simply, incorrect plant watering. Here, like in a bad comedy, beginner gardeners tend to swing between 2 extremes. The first extreme is drought. A new gardener plants their seedlings and then just assumes the rain will do all the work, or they water haphazardly, perhaps once a week if they even remember. The result? The soil becomes a parched, cracked desert. The roots can't absorb water, leaves wilt and go limp, and any fruit that does manage to set will be small and bitter. The plant is under constant stress, practically screaming for water, but you're just not listening. The second extreme, surprisingly, is even more prevalent. This is an excess of love, manifested as daily, heavy watering of your garden beds. It might seem like the more water, the better, but this is a massive error. When you constantly keep the soil waterlogged, you cut off the roots' access to oxygen. That's right, roots need to breathe too, and without air, they begin to rot and suffocate. The plant weakens, leaves yellow, and it becomes an easy target for fungal diseases. Imagine a person forced to drink water non-stop. They wouldn't be healthy, would they? So, how do you find that happy medium? The rule is simple. Water less frequently, but more thoroughly. It's better to give your garden bed a good soak once every few days, allowing the water to penetrate the soil to a depth of 6 to 8 inches, rather than just sprinkling a little on the surface every day. Shallow watering encourages roots to stay near the surface, making them vulnerable to drought. And here's a pro tip. Check the soil moisture with your finger. Just stick your finger into the soil about 2 to 3 inches deep. If it feels dry, it's time to water. If it's still damp, your plants are fine for now. And always try to water at the base of the plant, either in the morning or evening when the sun isn't as intense. This prevents the water from evaporating too quickly and keeps it from scalding the leaves. The third and perhaps most critical mistake goes right to the heart of your garden: a complete disregard for soil quality. Many novice gardeners believe dirt is just dirt. They think all you need to do is dig deep, pull out the weeds, and start planting. But that's like trying to build a sturdy house on a marshy or sandy foundation. Sooner or later, it's bound to collapse. Soil isn't just dirt, it's a living organism, the very source of all the nutrients your plants need to thrive. Imagine you've planted seedlings in poor, sandy soil. Water and any fertilizers will pass through it like a sieve, not lingering at the roots. Your plants will be perpetually starved. The other extreme is heavy, clay soil. After a rain, it turns into a sticky, airless mess, and in a drought it shrinks into a stony shell that even the strongest roots can't penetrate. But there's more. Soil has another crucial indicator. Its acidity, or pH. Some plants, like sorrel or hydrangeas, love acidic soil, but most vegetables, such as cabbage or beets, will wither and struggle in such conditions. Planting them in soil with the wrong pH is like trying to make a fish live on land. So, what can you do? First, get to know your soil. Take a handful. Does it crumble like sand? Or does it clump together into a dense, greasy ball, like modelling clay? This will give you a good initial idea. And to find out the acidity, you don't need to be a chemist. Simple and inexpensive pH test kits are readily available at any garden supply store. Most importantly, your soil can and should be improved. If it's sandy, add compost and well-rotted manure. These will make it more moisture retentive. If it's clayey, incorporate peat moss, sand and compost. These will loosen it up, making it light and airy. Remember, by investing in soil improvement today, you're investing in bountiful future harvests for years to come. Moving on to our fourth point, where timing is everything. Mistake number 4, improper planting time. Here, newcomers frequently fall prey to 2 critical errors that undo all their hard work. The first common pitfall is planting too soon. The first spring thaw hits, the sun starts to feel warm, and you get that urge. It's time! Time to get those precious seedlings into the garden. You enthusiastically plant your delicate tomato or pepper sprouts, and the very next night, bam! A late frost hits, just 1 degree below freezing, but for heat-loving plants, it's a death sentence. The next morning, you find blackened, lifeless stems. All that effort growing your seedlings has gone to waste. Remember, nature has its own calendar, and it doesn't always align with our impatience. Each region has specific approximate dates when the danger of a late frost has truly passed. Make sure you know them. It's better to plant your seedlings a week later than 1 day too early and lose everything. The second common mistake is, conversely, waiting too long. You wait until consistently warm weather has truly settled in before you start sowing things like cucumbers or carrots. Yes, they'll sprout and grow, of course, but every plant has its own growing season, the period from germination to fruit maturity. If you plant late, your vegetables might simply not have enough time to ripen before the autumn cold sets in. You'll find yourself staring at green tomatoes in September, knowing they'll never ripen. So what's the answer? Do your research. Every seed packet provides recommended planting times and maturity dates. Cross-reference this information with the specific climate of your region. Don't leave it to chance. In gardening, more than almost any other pursuit, the principle of "there's a time for everything" is crucial, and choosing that precise time is half the battle won. Our fifth common mistake, often stemming from a touch of greed or excessive optimism, is plant overcrowding. When you're first planting tiny seedlings or sowing seeds, your garden beds often look vast and empty. It's so tempting to think, I'll just plant them closer together to fit more in. More plants, more harvest. On the surface, that sounds perfectly logical. But in reality, it's one of the most detrimental mistakes a gardener can make. Plants are living things, and just like us, they need their personal space. When you cram them in too close, you're essentially creating a botanical battleground, a fierce struggle for survival. First, they'll start competing for light. Taller, stronger specimens will inevitably shade out their neighbours, and those plants desperate for sun will become leggy, weak, and produce little to no fruit. Secondly, the battle extends underground. Root systems will intertwine into a dense, desperate tangle, each plant frantically trying to snatch its share of water and precious nutrients from a limited amount of soil. The result? Everyone loses. Instead of one robust, productive plant laden with large, flavourful produce, you'll end up with multiple puny, stressed plants, yielding small, often tasteless, vegetables. And thirdly, dense plantings are an absolute haven for diseases and pests. These thick, crowded conditions create poor air circulation and trap humidity, which are ideal breeding grounds for fungal diseases like late blight or powdery mildew. Once a disease takes hold on one plant, it spreads like wildfire to its neighbours. The solution here is simple. Always follow the recommendations. Your seed packets aren't just for decoration. They always provide recommended spacing. If it says tomato plants need 20 inches between them, then grab your tape measure and give them exactly that. Yes, your garden bed might look strangely empty at first, but trust me, in just a month, you'll thank yourself when you see powerful, healthy, well-ventilated plants absolutely loaded with fruit. Remember, in the garden, quality always trumps quantity. The sixth common mistake is delaying action against pests and diseases. This is where the "it'll go away on its own," or "it's just one bug" mindset leads to disaster. Imagine this scenario. You're inspecting your garden and you notice a few tiny holes on a cabbage leaf, or you spot a single Colorado potato beetle on a potato plant. A beginner's first thought might be, "Oh, it's nothing serious. No need to worry." And they go about their day. But the world of insects and pathogens operates by its own rules, and their reproduction rate is astounding. That single Colorado potato beetle is likely a scout or a female who has already laid a clutch of eggs on the underside of a leaf. Within a week, dozens of voracious larvae will hatch from them, capable of turning a lush plant into bare stems in just a couple of days. Those few holes on your cabbage, left by a caterpillar, will leave the leaf riddled with holes within a week, and the caterpillar itself will transform into a moth or butterfly, laying hundreds of new eggs. A single aphid on a young shoot can, over a season, establish a colony of several thousand individuals, sucking all the vitality out of your plant. The same goes for diseases. That tiny grey spot of late blight on a tomato leaf today could mean a completely blackened and dead plant in just a week and a half, especially if the weather is humid. Fungal spores spread with the wind and raindrops at lightning speed. The key here is prevention and rapid response. Your daily garden inspection isn't just a leisurely stroll, it's a critical health checkup. Look carefully under leaves and inspect stems and fruits. Spot the first pest. Immediately remove or destroy it by hand. Notice a suspicious spot on a leaf. Remove and dispose of that leaf immediately. Don't wait for the infection to spread. If the problem has already taken hold, don't be afraid to use protective treatments. Today, there are many effective and safe organic or biological products available that will help you tackle the issue without harming your harvest or the environment. Crucially, don't wait until the enemy has completely taken over. In this war, the one who acts proactively always wins. And finally, the seventh mistake, often made with the best of intentions: improper fertilizer use. Many novice gardeners fall into one of two camps. The first group believes nature knows best and avoids all fertilizers, simply planting and expecting their crops to find their own sustenance. While this might occasionally work with exceptionally fertile soil, most garden beds quickly become depleted. Like us, plants need balanced nutrition. Without it, they'll be weak, stunted, and produce a meagre harvest. But even more dangerous is the second camp, those who fertilize by guesswork, operating under the assumption that more is better. They grab the first fertilizer they see and generously sprinkle it on everything, convinced they're doing their plants a favour. In reality, they often achieve the opposite effect. The classic example of this is overfeeding with nitrogen. Nitrogen is essential for developing green mass, stems and leaves, and is especially crucial during early growth. However, if you continue to apply nitrogen-rich fertilizers, like manure or ammonium nitrate, during the flowering and fruiting stages, you're essentially giving the plant the wrong instructions. It thinks its job is to produce enormous leaves and robust stems. The result? You might end up with a magnificent 2-metre-tall tomato bush, lush with dark green foliage, but with virtually no fruit, or perhaps just a couple of tiny tomatoes. As gardeners say, the plant is going to leaf, putting all its energy into vegetative growth rather than fruit production. For flowering and successful fruit development, plants require entirely different nutrients, primarily phosphorus and potassium. Phosphorus supports root system development and flower bud formation, while potassium is vital for the fruit's taste, size, and storage quality. The conclusion is simple: feeding your plants is necessary, but it must be done wisely. Educate yourself on the specific nutrients your plants need at various growth stages. Always read the instructions on fertilizer packaging carefully and never exceed the recommended dose. Remember, fertilizers aren't magic wands. They're tools that require skilled use, and balance is the absolute key to success. But here's the real irony, isn't it? We've listed 7 common gardening mistakes, but there's one crucial mistake that trumps them all, and it's not about watering or choosing the right spot. It's a mindset error. The biggest mistake a beginner gardener makes is expecting perfect results on the first try and a crippling fear of failure. When something goes wrong, many throw in the towel, convinced that gardening isn't for them. But here's the twist: there are no failures in gardening, only lessons learned. Every wilting seedling, every pest-nibbled fruit isn't a cause for despair, but a priceless lesson for the future. Your first yellowed cucumber teaches you more about proper watering than any book ever could. So while you avoid those 7 common mistakes, make sure you don't fall into the 8th, most insidious trap. Your garden isn't an exam where you get graded. It's an exciting adventure filled with continuous discoveries, patience, and a willingness to learn hands-on. That's the true secret to a bountiful harvest. Thank you for watching this video until the end. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new tips. Now, a question for you. What mistake has cost you a harvest or become your most valuable lesson? Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn together.